you gave me this.
I'll give that to Marianne instead.
Okay. Mrs. Nicholson,
Yes,
you know
ma'am.
that part in Eternal Life that you were saying the one part where it starts switching to the triplets, and you were like, you should probably memorize this.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I memorized both hands this morning.
Good girl.
Because it's like, it works in patterns, and the left hand just goes from like C, and then it's C sharp, and then D, and D sharp, and E sharp, and F, and then the right hand is like a weird, like, it just repeats the same notes, and it keeps going right
Do you
down.
have a cold, my dear? You must have just gotten it since.
Well, I had a sore throat a couple of days ago, and then it moved. It just like moves.
Well, we are going to pray for healing for you. Anna has a moment, I guess not really anymore. That moment is now gone. To be with us. I'm not sure if she'll be popping in or not, but we'll just proceed as planned. Let's pray for the good tournament. I know there are big changes, and so that's going to be.
And hopefully it doesn't rain
crazy.
now.
But we'll just pray about those
They're gonna
things.
do if it rains.
Supposed to.
That would be so crazy.
It doesn't look like the camera's on. If you wanted it to be on.
Oh yeah.
Which is a puzzle to why that would be the case. So,
This weekend is gonna start.
well,
But I just randomly did it.
Yeah, it does a lot.
I did that too. I think I get emails.
I think we're in a meeting. I don't know why my picture isn't showing. We're just going to proceed without my photo of ourselves.
Yeah, no, I don't just look at myself.
I need to troubleshoot. I don't know if because I changed settings for Dr. Hager, if that now it's not saving it. I thought every time you logged in, you went back to your original settings. But don't worry. I don't think she'll be in the depths of despair that she cannot see our faces for today.
She probably will be very sad.
Okay, but I do want to pray, and then we'll begin, and I'll tinker around with that later. Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for this day. I pray that you be at the tournament. I pray that you keep the rain from coming and that they be able to proceed. I know athletics has had so many changes, and just to be a blessing for them. And I pray that you would just prevent the rain from coming. But also, Lord, help us to respond the way that we should, regardless of those circumstances. Be with Alice and help her to continue to get better, but also healing for her and me. Give the volleyball team tonight and tomorrow good success and help them to be able to play well. And I thank you for this class time. Help us to use it wisely. We pray in your name. Amen. Okay, so I have a lot of things I want to do, but first, just wanting to reflect on what you thought of the guest lecture from Piano Safari from Dr. Head. What did you think? So here's
I
her
want to try it
card and your information. So if you want to contact, she said keep in touch. She had a lovely time. Sarah was telling me she's already started trying to experiment with it. So in that reference library, as long as it doesn't leave this Faith little music one, you can use them, okay? I don't want you to have them leave here. Just because if you're like me, I lose things. I do. So if it just stays here, even if I see it somewhere around the building, I can still put it right back. Because that brings me to another topic of conversation. I do have a lesson plan. I'm going to pull it up to show you. October 11th, you have your piano method review. So make sure that that Piano Safari one is in there so that you can look at it. So you're welcome to use it, but just if you can kind of make sure it returns to the music resource library. Because I have stacks of the different methods for you to review. So you can go in there at your leisure and look through those, answer those questions. Now, sometimes you may be like, I don't know if this is intervallic or middle safe. And in those cases, you could maybe say, I would say it's a very blended approach. And that's valid. I learned phonics, but I also learned a few other techniques too, not just phonics. Does that make sense? So Becca is what I had when I was a kid. They use a very multifaceted approach. It's not just phonics, it's a blend of many things. So you don't have to panic if you're like, I'm not sure, but you think maybe it's a blend. That's fine. So that's October 11th. So don't procrastinate. It will take you some time to look through these methods, but a great exercise for you, and you'll grow in the process of exploring. The other thing that I need to bring to light is the collegiate chapter. I am working on the application. I talked with the gentleman, and he's just waiting for us to submit all of this stuff. So I said, okay, well, there's officers, officer 1 position, officer 2, officer 3, officer. And I said, well, I don't know who wants to do what. And he said, honestly, that's not critical. They just want to know kind of who's involved. And he realizes positions change. I am your faculty advisor. That will not change. But as far as right now, I put Sarah Therese as the officer 1. What does that mean for you, Sarah?
You're number 1.
I think that we also have someone that needs to record minutes. Did you have any clue what that is?
Like meeting time?
Meeting minutes, meaning you kind of give the cliff notes of the meetings. So we need to have a meeting to establish. And then I need to upload those minutes to the application. So what I think that we ought to do is, can we meet for lunch one day?
Well, I was thinking through that, and I don't even know that there's a time when all 4 of us can meet for lunch with you.
Probably the only time is right after this class. We have
But
What
yeah,
if we did
hands-offs is the
this?
thing.
But what if we did this? On Wednesday, we take 30 minutes of class time and eat together and have a
That's probably
meeting.
the only thing that would work.
I think that would work. And what you can do, we can spend that time discussing workshops we want to have. We can kind of really, it doesn't have to be extremely formal, and we don't need to like blow a gasket trying to get this done. But we need to just discuss like ideas. Also, he mentioned there's scholarships for travel fees to go to the national conference that I mentioned to you already in Chicago. That's March 21st to the 25th, 2020. And it's on the Magnificent Mile. And if you volunteer for 6 hours, and he said usually you don't end up having to volunteer 6 hours. You just need to be available for 6 hours. You can go for free. But then as collegiate chapter people, which we're in the process of doing that, you can apply for a scholarship for a $100 travel voucher, which can cover food or whatever. I'm hoping to take a faith band to drop down with a group of people. Talk to Emma and Bree, they're interested in going too, because there's a voice track as well as violin. Oh no, there's just one. So that would be something that once we have the collegiate chapter finalized, you'll be getting emails about those things. The one thing we need to be aware is that travel voucher, you have to turn in your application by November 1st. So we just need to be on it. And he said, if you submit the application and you're legitimately collegiate chapter, we award the scholarship. So, yes, ma'am.
How does it work with classes and things? Because
So I would
there's
work.
a lot of extremely discouraged for having us go to conferences with friends.
Yeah, right. So, I would work through that with personnel. Obviously, Dr. Ellis is supportive of that. You would have to miss some courses. I fully understand the ramifications of that. But don't worry about that. I'll I'll fend for that. Now, if you're an athlete in basketball that are already going to be in the jeopardy of missing more than a certain number of courses, I think in a 3-credit course it's 9, but I don't think in the spring semester any of you would be in jeopardy of that. I think we'd still be okay. And as long as we're communicating, which we would, with them well in advance that we're not trying to get out of any work, then we could make plans to be there. So don't worry about that. I'll talk to Dr. Rathman and make sure that he's not offended by that. But Dr. Ellis is thinking that would be tremendous for us all to be able to enjoy. Not every time is it in such close proximity to us. So I really want to maximize going. And I want all of you to get scholarships so that your food, because if we are covering the transportation and you volunteer, the only cost you would have is your food. And if we can get you a scholarship, it's really zero cost. And I was telling one person, I can't remember if you or another, at these conferences, the last day, they have sales. How often are these 50% off? Have you ever shopped for these?
Mm-hmm.
They're never on sale. I'll just tell you, they are never on sale. So I bought this one instead of $52, $26. So going to that conference, there are lots of huge benefits, as well as I got all kinds of free music. Like this is just, you know, one little lecture I went to and they hand me a bag of music. I enjoyed that immensely. And then experiences like what you had guest lecture with Dr. Hug is what you get many, many times over. So there are showcases, there's concerts, it's just a great experience. Also, that would count towards your professional development in your future life too. So that's that. Are you offended that I'm putting your names in as officers? We can, in our meeting, our first meeting, we can discuss who wants to take minutes, all of that. Does anybody feel like they could take minutes? You know, kind of what that's like?
I do that for essays.
Okay, would you just take minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll maybe draw straws for the rest of the things. Okay? And what is that gonna mean? Don't worry about, like, I'll make sure it's conducive to everybody being able to participate. It may be even very informal. Us meeting in my office, you know, at a time that works for everybody.
Do you want me to make like a Google, like, do you want me to, is like, taking
If you
minutes?
make a Word
Okay,
document,
and
and then
share
when
with
we're
you?
done, if you send it to me, then I can post it on this application and we'll send it off.
Okay.
I'm only waiting on, so I sent you bylaws. Did you look at them?
Yeah.
I don't panic about them. I just use their template of what they use for bylaws. It's just professional standards so that we are not doing anything that's unethical, which I hope that you don't plan to do in your future lives in ministry. So that needs to move forward. So why don't we plan Wednesday? I'm going to write this down. Wednesday, I will dismiss at 12:25 from our class, and we'll head over to Benson. And I will check on President's Diary. Why not?
They also have another meeting room too open
Oh, they
as
do.
well.
So what's the name of that?
Yeah. It's where the old practice rooms used to be.
Okay.
Really start this.
Very nice. Okay, so I will check into that. That way you're not having to carve out a unique time. It is
So I was like, I think
pedagogy.
the only other time that would work is like after dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm running to.
And I was like, you're
volleyball.
probably not here then.
Well,
so.
I can if I absolutely had to, but we just need to briefly meet, and it does pertain to piano pedagogy, so
So it
it's
counts.
not a problem. Okay, now that chapter, we'll move forward with it. Wednesday, lunch, you're taking minutes. We will draw, part of our meeting will be assigning officer positions.
Except Benson doesn't have straws.
I can bring straws.
Or pencils. Okay.
Draw pencils.
Oh, draw pencils. Okay. So the other thing I sent over to you today, and you probably don't even, useful sight reading strategies. So I was watching it. I skipped my lunch period and I watched most of this. Everything you were just saying about patterns, our brains can usually store about 7 pieces of information. So when you see E, G sharp, B, C, and D, your brain, but can you keep track of all that? What if you said it's actually a C sharp, E, G, B flat chord? And that's all you have to remember, is it's a chord. And then your brain will find that way. So it's just like condensing the pattern that's there. And I told you this, the more patterns you expose yourself, the more you have to draw from. And the more rhythmic experiences you have, the more you have to draw from. And every time you improvise, implementing where your body knows how to do those patterns is wonderful. But we're not going to rank her thing right now. But I did also want to. We already reflected on that, and that's lovely. Lesson planning 101. Okay, what was a 101 course in college?
You don't know anything about this.
Very beginning. Okay, my first lesson plan in graduate school, they assumed that I'd had a piano pedagogy class talking about lesson planning in undergrad. I didn't. So my first lesson plan, I was like, assign new pieces, listen to the old pieces. That was my lesson plan. And she said, that's not going to work. And I was like, okay, well, what else do you talk about? Honestly, it's a lot like algebra, showing your work. Sometimes you're going to naturally do some really great things in a lesson, ask good questions and have them circle things and have them be involved. But it's really important to list out all that stuff. You want to get good habits ingrained in you. So it does take forethought and some planning. I'm regularly trying to evaluate what are Sarah's goals, what are my goals, what are the school's goals, and how can we meet all of those goals, achieve them. And sometimes that's a challenge because your goals may be, I don't want to play a Bach invention or a Bach prelude. So, but how can I reconcile that? How can I accommodate that and make it as motivating as possible? Macro planning. Macro planning is like deciding what you want to do for your recital. Maybe this student has a desire to be a choral accompanist, or they are a company. So those concerts would be those macro planning events. Where am I actually going to have to perform and that kind of thing. Then micro planning. That's what I'm going to do today. Okay, I have a recital in 6 months. What am I going to do today to gear up toward that? So what technique do I need to actually perform that piece? Is it super fast? Is there a lot of polyrhythms? Is it in a really challenging right and left hand, like that passage that you're dealing with? So this is your weekly lesson plans for each individual student or group. Brainstorm what's important. So you can kind of see mine, but what do you think is important in every lesson? What do you think? This is where you get to talk. And I know it's Friday and none of us have had lunch. Most of us, maybe you had class right before this usually, right? Usually. So what do you think is important? She mentioned some of them on Wednesday. What makes up a good pianist or a good musician? Think about these things.
Technique.
Technique is a big part of that. What else?
The knowledge of like where notes are and like
Knowledge of where notes are and that kind of thing.
Ear training.
Ear training.
So
Very
you don't
true.
get to college and not know anything.
Yeah. Oral skills.
I
Ear training.
identify with that.
Yeah. You knew a lot, but you didn't always know how to draw from that. Because often a piano teacher doesn't even talk about audiation or having you sing. It's kind of foreign. I never ever remember a teacher having me sing in a lesson. Anything else? So we said technique, we said your training, knowledge. Is there any other components?
They still like the piano.
Do they still like the piano? Okay, so these are things that I just wrote down. You're right. All of that is there. Literacy. So I want them to begin with reading. Sometimes we forget that sometimes me playing for them actually is part of literacy. So we take for granted to play, to read to our children, right? Did your mom and dad read to you before you could read? You're not going to read until you're able to do it. No, that's silly. So the teacher can model reading and showing them how it should look and how it can look and how it feels. Sometimes I have my students ride my hands. Just take a ride on my hands and feel how I'm moving through the air. Usually not with my college age students, they feel a little creeped out by that. But with a little child, they don't mind pretending they're on a horseback ride on my hand and playing with me and feeling that together. So literacy has many, many components, but remember, think of how people learn to read. They do a lot of observing and watching first, and connections. And you look at an early book, okay, and there are lots and lots of pictures and very short amount of words on a page, right? So why in music sometimes do we give them so much information? Poor kid, they're probably like, this is too much. If we just chunked it down into a lot smaller. One of my missions is I'm going to have giant flashcards. I'm going to have some like 11 by 17, just giant. So that they can see these patterns big. Because often we look at it and we get bombarded by too much information. And we feel like we can't decompress it. It's too much. We just shut down. So you guys mentioned your training. I agree. That's really important. Improvisation. I grew up tinkering around a ton and making up stuff. And there's a lot of value. And I learned a lot about intervals and I learned a lot about what sounds good together from that goofing around. A lot of people would say a waste of time. Just no, but I really learned a lot about. And do you think that you can think about the proper technique more when you're goofing around? When you're not trying to read a score and do all these other things, right? So technology, I think, should be we live in a rich digital culture, right? Like it or not, I don't always like it, but it is what it is. So I'm trying to drench myself in trying to learn, okay? Do I fail along this process? Yes, I don't have a video of myself for whatever reason. And is that okay? Is that part of learning? Well, are students making mistakes in their learning? Yeah, of course. So I wrote technology twice.
It's super important.
You know, I think it's because I wanted to write technique. So there we go.
Oh.
So technique should be the other component that's you did mention. Sight reading. So I just sent you a link to a webinar about sight reading. Really, really important. So I've talked to you guys all about writing with color and finding patterns and identifying chords and blocking the chords. Then when you watch the video, you understand why. Okay, because our brains cannot handle 50 bits of information that are coming to us in 10 measures. We need to find ways of making it 7, where our brain can, or 5 even, where our brain can do that. And some of the things we want to be autopilot. When I see a super low bass note, but I know that it's C, do I just assume it's an octave if it's in line in the space? Mm-hmm. Or do I count out 1? No, I'm just going to guess it's an octave.
Oh, that's how you tell.
Yeah. So
no,
it's really.
I just tell based on the rest of the chords. like in the right hand or like where the chords are going. That's
So you use
smart.
music theory.
I guess.
That is exactly what you're doing.
I don't know. I normally just feel like I'm guessing. No, that's
So
like I'm gonna
with
try.
your with your playing, she says that one of the chat rooms or the chat box, someone said I think that choral accompanists get the best experiences in sight reading because they can't slow it down. They have to move forward, and they have lots of new stuff thrown at them all the time. That rose just for my own benefit of always having new material to push before me. The more patterns we're familiar with, the more we have to draw from. Okay? If I grow up in a language-rich environment where my parents are reading to me, they're talking to me, they're bringing me to Sunday school, they're bringing me to school, do you think I have a lot of vocabulary to experiment with? Okay, if all I hear is swear words and yelling and screaming, what is my vocabulary to draw from? Not great. My husband deals with this at school in Des Moines. And you just have a heart of compassion for these students. So that's why another reason where I am often playing for my students, so that they get a lot of experience with hearing. And so an important thing, yes ma'am, before I move forward.
Before you
Yes.
go on.
Yes.
How do you fit all of this in each piano lesson? Because I have a hard enough time fitting in like even just like 2 or 3 books into 30 minutes.
Something that I'm wrestling with and debating about. And you can pray for me that I have wisdom. I'm considering only allowing 45-minute lessons for all students in Faith Music Academy for this reason. You are right. It is a daunting task. Now, if we were in a rural community where people can afford lessons, I might not consider that. But we're in a community that they can. And most parents, do you think that they would appreciate getting a chance to go over theory? That you would get a chance to do some improvising? I think most families would. So, you are absolutely right. That in an ideal setting, I think a 45-minute lesson would be the best approach. The lady about the sight reading, she does 45 minutes with hers. I think that that's a great model. Now, in my studio, that's not how I structured it. But then as I built my studio up, then I would encourage my students as they were getting older and their attention span was getting, I just emailed the parents as they registered. Hey, just think about this. I was thinking of having your daughter do a 45-minute lesson. You know, that would be an additional cost, so I just want to leave that up to you. But she's really, her pieces are getting longer and it's harder for us to get through material. Why do I do half hour often for kids? Sometimes it's really tricky for them attention span wise. So they maybe can't, unless you were doing off the bench activities for another 15 minutes. Does that make sense?
Which would probably help make the other half hour more productive if you like put an off the bench activity in between.
Yeah, if you were doing doot, 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 doot,
Right.
interchanging. Interaction, now let's do this. Interaction, yes. Yes. Yes,
Like
yes,
so
yes.
45 minutes might actually be better in those.
Yes, yes, and that's why I'm floating around the idea of doing that model. So, food for thought, and I do think that that would create more opportunities to do that. Now, with some strategic planning, you can send home to parents that they're doing piano maestro and doing tons of sight reading, and they have access to that, and you just send them reminders. Hey, if you haven't checked it out, they just added some new things. Check it out. I've had tons of fun. Here's me playing, whatever. So if you're really strategic about it, you can find ways. But ideally, I think a 45-minute model might be better because you are right, doing activity, lesson, activity, and varying it so that your treasure box, you're just keeping the lesson moving really fast pace. You should go observe my husband teach. It is like, and it's fast paced, but they get to lots of stuff. So that's something down the road, not today, not tomorrow, but I'm thinking through. And what does that mean for charging I'm not even sure. Working those details out. Where do I want to be in 10 years? I listened to Dr. David Jeremiah preach a message on, he called it self-management. He said it's not time management, it's self-management. I don't like that word because a lot of the mistakes mean that's my fault. And it's the truth. So self-management. Something that's important that we need a Paul in our life, a Timothy in our life, and someone that we're encouraging as well and mentoring. So if we're thinking, where do I want to be in 10 years? Okay. Do you ever dream about that? I'm going to be 46. Okay. Where does that put you guys?
31.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 31. All right. So, we want to be doing something today that's projecting towards our 10-year goals. Okay. So, if I want a goal of having positive relationship with former students, what do I need to do today to achieve that? Be nice to you. Okay, that's one. That's an easy thing.
That's
right?
helpful.
Now, am I ever tempted to not be nice? Sure. But we need to be, okay, I want to have Alyssa Larson's that I get to remember. Yeah, I want to have Amanda Larson. I had her when she was so beautiful. She's not so wee anymore. That's fun. It's really rewarding to look back on that. When I want to have students that are teaching well 10 years from now. So I need to make sure I'm setting you up for success now so that I can see, oh, look at, they have this lovely studio named Sonata Piano Studio and they're doing wonderful teaching, great students. I'm excited about that. So what are you doing today to do that? What do I need to incorporate to blend my goals with my students' goals? Yesterday, I had a student that said to me, I want to play a Rachmaninoff piano concerto. Okay. They're not there yet. Okay. Now, okay, I know what that piece is. It's a gorgeous piece. Very difficult technically. Very beautiful, very romantic. Now, can I find pieces that are similar in mood and style to whet his appetite to continue looking and pressing on? Absolutely. So even though I was tempted to say to him, dream on, buddy. But tempted. I didn't say that. Okay. Okay. No. Thankfully, I just said, you keep moving forward. And it won't be today, it won't be tomorrow, but you just keep making forward motion toward that goal. And do I have pieces on my bucket list that I'd still like to play someday? Sure. And are there things that I've done in the last year that I've gotten to tick off? Yes. So it's important for us to allow them to dream, but also that we're dreaming of where do I want them to be? For all of you, I want you all to be capable of being church musicians. So what am I doing today to achieve that? Forcing you to play in chapel, forcing you to be involved in your local church. That's going to help you progress toward that goal. So sometimes you have a student that comes to you, they have a goal that they want to, so you've done some interviews now. What do they come to you wanting to play? What are the reasons they want to take lessons?
They like piano, they want to play, some kid wants to play Harry Potter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, fun stuff like that.
Well, and immediately what you need to do is, could you compose your own wrote piece with the Heidrich thing? I bet you could. It's very patterned. And you could help him with that some of the things you might do, and you could create your own thing. So as early as you possibly can, that they think that they're achieving their goal. I have a whole bunch of arrangements of Star Wars and Heidelberg's Thing, Harry Potter music, Beauty and the Beast. They're very easy, but that they feel like they're playing real music that sounds really cool, and they can like feel like they're playing the piano and not just C, C, C. No one is excited about that, okay? I don't get excited to listen to it, and they're not excited to play it. So if they have that goal, what am I doing this week that can help them with that? Well, maybe this week all I'm going to teach them is the rhythm of Heidelberg's Theme. But that's something, right? They have that as a template. Maybe I'd have them sing the theme, or we listen to it. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do today to be developing. So what goals do my students have? It's very important for you to be asking. Something that I try to ask all of you when I have you in lessons. Do you like the pieces we're studying? Are there any pieces that you're currently studying that you just really want to be done? And as you discover with your own teaching experience, you will find yourself in this place where, yes, the piece that they have is trying to teach dotted rhythms. They are not getting it. Okay? We could continue this piece for 35 weeks and they're still going to not be getting it, and they're going to be more and more frustrated. You will be more and more frustrated. Or can I find another supplementary piece, or another, maybe it's another grab a book, or maybe it's one of these little fun Christmas book, or it's a Heidelberg's Theme. Does the Heidelberg's Theme have a dotted rhythm in it? You bet it does. Are there other things that I could teach this very same thing that they're not getting it here? And they're getting more and more frustrated. I hope that you will have the wisdom to, all right, let's close the chapter on that piece. We're going to turn the page, and we're going to take a mini vacation, and we're going to study a new piece that will teach you the very same concept, but in a different place. Have you ever heard someone say something to you that your parents had said over and over, but all of a sudden it clicked with you from a different person?
My mom gets mad when I say, oh, not mad, but she's always like, I've told you this so many times.
But for some reason, from a different person, it just rings a bell. So there may be a piece by a different composer that will be like, I like this, I get this. Another thing that I do is, especially with a student, I'm going to demonstrate. So hopefully this works out. Just drop my phone. That's okay. Technology. All right. So you can come stand around me, okay? This will be very interactive. And there's no video to see.
So we might as well do it now.
So if I have right? Does that have a dotted rhythm in it? So sometimes I do the top part and have them do the bottom part. And if the piece is trying to mesh two rhythms, Sarah, okay, you're going to be my left hand now. Okay? You're going to do what I just did. Sit down, and you're just going to do that rocking motion, okay? 1, 2, ready, go. We did it so perfectly. You're a master now of this. Now you're going to switch jobs. You're going to be that person. And if you make a mistake, it's okay, because there's no music here. There's no mistakes to be made, right? Okay,
You can't mess it up.
you can't mess it up. There's no wrong notes, because there are no notes. And maybe you know what the tune is already, and maybe you can tell me in a minute. All right, 1, 2, and ready, play. What song is that? Joy to the World. And you know that you can play dotted rhythms now. So on this piece of music right here, I'm just going to pretend, and I have to write on it because I'm faculty. Okay. So what you're going to do you have this rhythm that you have just been playing over and over. And amazingly, you're really good at it already. You already understand it. You already can play it. Now, it is a little weird when you see it in music. Do you know any other songs that might use it? All the songs? Like, what child is this too late to rest? The Highwoods thing that you like so much. You have them all over the place. So stand up for a moment. All right, so if I were to try to march, okay, we're gonna move this bench so we have plenty of space, okay. So I want us all to march in place. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're doing the bottom part of the Verdi bass, right? Mm-hmm. Now in our hands, we're going to do the rhythm of the Joy to the World we just played. All right. 1, 2, ready, go. Oh, look at us. We're so good. We're really, really good. Most students will have a little bit of trouble with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try What Child Is This? In your mind, sing it, because we're not going to sing out loud. 1, 2, ready, go. You're so good. Okay, do you see how that physical activity of, it was you saw it, then you got to participate it, then you switched jobs, then you saw the symbol, and then we did another physical activity of reinforcing what we just saw. And then you could play it again. So that is a way of sound before symbol, which Frances Clark, who's reading the Frances Clark, you are. I want to read it after you're done. I've looked at it, but I have not thoroughly read it. And she really was foremost piano pedagogue and really taught a ton of things. So let's come back to our seats. That's just a mini lecture on
Off the bench.
off the
seat
bench
activity.
off the seat activities. And sometimes what I do is I get out my chopsticks with them. I have chopsticks in the treasure box there. You should have them. Go to Heidi Chinese and ask if you can have some. They love to conduct, and I will have them sometimes conduct those rhythms while I'm playing. So you're just going to keep my pattern so I stay nice and steady, and I'll follow you. If you slow down, I'll follow you. They love to boss us around and utilize that trait in them as much as you can. So the other thing that I want you to do, if you can, is I want you to watch this webinar. There are tons of things in there. If sight reading is something that we want our students to learn to do, we need to be good sight readers ourselves. And often we're afraid to teach what we don't naturally feel good at. Do you ever notice that? Because you'll feel silly. So everything that she mentions, I haven't even finished watching the webinar. I watched like 40 minutes of the 50. She talks about using color to identify. So I try and always have a cup of color. That jar up there has more color. Using Post-its. But if our brains can only take in 7 pieces of information at a max, -2 or +2. Some people are really, really smart and maybe can do 9. But you need to probably assume the average student felt 5 pieces of information. So kind of like when you mentioned that you saw those patterns, that made it so much easier to play, right? When you see 20 notes in a measure, your brain is like, I don't even know where to begin because you told this, right? Especially if you add conductor to watch, chorus to listen to. That boo-hoo. That then
Chorus
that's
that skips notes and things,
right,
and you have to catch up.
right. So I need to make many things automatic, so that my brain just knows E chord, then it's a C sharp chord, then it's a D sharp chord, or whatever the pattern is. And I hope that the rhythm of the 2s against 3 is fairly natural. And you're going to maybe need to work at that, to even when you're walking to class, be working through doing 2s against 3s rhythms all of the time. So warming up with scales with 2s against 3s. So it is a natural thing, because we can't do something that's really hard and we forget that it's hard, is that we often will give them the rhythm and the notes all at the same time. And we wonder why they're not doing well. Well, something that she shows that I loved is that something that would be great, if you pull up in their piece, Beethoven's a bad example. Okay, I see this rhythm that it's 1, 2, 3, E and a, 4, E and a. Okay, I'm gonna have them just do. I'm just gonna write on my little whiteboard really fast, just that rhythm, no notes whatsoever. And every hard rhythm they're gonna encounter, we're gonna have already walked through that. Okay, and it can be on the file board, pull the file board. It could be on their lap. That you could do a right hand, left hand. Okay, you have, let's look at Beethoven right there. Okay, this is going to be our example. All right. So I want you to tap this. Right hand is going to be doing the top rhythm. Left hand is going to be doing the bottom. Okay, we're going to do a count up. I can't do it while holding it, but we'll just do our best. 1, 2, ready, tap. 1, 3, lolly, 4 lolly, 1 lolly. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4. Yes, did you see even how hard it was for you to wait there for that full value? But just taking and pulling out that rhythm so that you can be successful when you actually try to put. And as soon as I was looking at it, I was seeing chords. E chord for a long time, then C chord for a long time. And you identify that pattern, then having them block that. So that when actually you get to playing the music, all that is happening is you've already patterned that you've already done. You've already taken the rhythm and separated it. You've taken the chords and separated. And now they can hopefully be successful putting it together. So with that, you'll be dismissed. Hopefully your brain is just flourishing with things. Sometime watch the webinar. I enjoyed it immensely. I took notes, but don't forget to think about, here's the notes that I taken, blah, 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 I can't speak. The value and role of sight reading. And I'm inspired to do more myself. We can all improve in this area. But part of it is the more we need our ears exposed to things. That's why we make you play Baroque. You're not going to be good at Baroque unless you're doing Baroque. So, have a lovely day. I let you go 3 minutes early because I took 2 minutes of your life the other day. So 2 minutes returned. Yes, I did. I kept you till 52 last time with our little
So Dr. Ellis had mentioned something about a piano literature class.
Oh yeah. Mrs. Nicholson, can we sit down and try to figure out what classes I need someday?
Yeah, absolutely can.
In the future.
When I grow up, I'm just kidding. We will need to. I have been looking at course mapping. I'm also working on trying to get the Faith Music Academy thing ready for November. So I'm finding myself to what's it called? Swimming while the current is going really strong. So I'm making slow progress. So but I'd like to map out the entire thing, and what I think it's going to look like is Pedagogy 1, Pedagogy 2, and then one literature course, and then like an internship, which will be, instead of a sacred music internship in a local church, being like the music pastor, which is kind of weird for a girl even to try to do, yours would be almost like a student teaching internship. So basically it'll be me coming to observe you doing what you're already doing.
That sounds scary.
But it's not, I mean, you'll know when I'm coming, and you'll already be submitting videos to me next semester as part of Pedagogy 2. So you're gonna already get feedback, so it won't be a brand new experience. So it just be like a formal, documented kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, and that way you would have, and I'm hoping that maybe we might even incorporate a group element to that. So, anyway. Yeah, and we need to knock out yours. So I want to make sure too that I don't commit to things that Dr. Ellis isn't certain of, because I am thinking that you don't have to do certain classes, but I want to be sure he's okay with that before I publicize that. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Because there will be things that have to be fixed or nixed. Is the
Oh.
word.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to be sure that I'm not saying this is going to be the program,
Right.
and he's like, you can't cut that course. So anyway, and I debated of even incorporating some of the organizational leadership things as a
That's what
possibility.
he mentioned something about that too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be sure that I don't want any redundancies. So I kind of want to look over his courses more to be sure that, because we do cover some of the business aspects as well. So I don't know that we want to do too much. Right. But which ones would be helpful, I haven't had a chance to really sort out. But I have been thinking about it. But I think the Faith Music Academy, we need to get it in motion so that the classes actually have a structure to implement it, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it's just theory. And theory is not as fun as real life. So anyway, I'm working on it, and if you have suggestions, even in the meantime, but the 45-minute model might be the direction I'm leaning.
Also, sometimes we don't even, this sounds terrible, we don't even get to like the books because they like come in and show me something and I'm like, oh, we should talk about that. And then they keep learning, so I just keep moving on, and then I'm like, oh,
Right.
get to your books.
Yeah. Well, and we need to work through structure too. But we just started talking about lesson planning too. And I actually set a timer for one little child. I say, you get to talk. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and you get to talk and tell me anything you want to. And go. And he'd go, and it was like a fire hydrant. And I'm like, woof, okay, that 2 minutes is up. So now we're like go time. And if you do really, really well, we're going to do Piano Maestro, which you love Piano Maestro. And you can put it on the choir setting. But they usually went pretty well, and he'd stay on task. He had ADHD. And so it was particularly, it's not that I didn't let him talk, but I just said, remember, we already got 2 minutes. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So anyway, it's on the docket for being addressed. It just hasn't been. So it's in the works. But I know that you need that for graduating, so
You know.
yeah, that's a thing.
Basically, maybe
Coming
next
up.
year.
You don't want to be here forever. I get
And
that.
Dr. Ellison said that I would take that class too
Okay.
for one of them. So I thought I wanted to mention
Instead
it.
instead of choral methods.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm basically, since I'm doing the music minor, I'm still getting the exact same number of credits
Okay.
as any other music minor would have in the past, but
Sure.
I'm just switching out a couple of the classes. So I'm
Yeah,
still
and I
doing the
think
same
that
amount of work.
actually work really well for you.
Yeah.
I think it's actually.
So I got
perfect.
some chorals out. But I wanted to mention it, be like,
The
make sure you
piano
are planning
literature.
on doing
Yeah.
that, because then I'll switch out. Because I stopped and talked to Mr. Gwender, and he was like, yeah, as long as he basically was like, yeah, I'm just in charge of facilitating, so like if you put it together, then that's totally
Yeah,
fine.
and I
on
want
his
to be
end.
sure I'm not breaking any rules with accreditation too. So there's a lot of gnarly stuff that I get to think about, but it'll be fine. I just want to be sure that we want to make all of the minors a similar credit load. So like there's not a discrepancy, but at the same time, why have you take advanced conducting if you're probably not going to do a lot
But
with?
it's fun.
It is fun. It is fun, and it's a good skill. But as far as I'd like to have you have career paths as well. which is also valid. Fun is good, but it's also important to pay your bills. And so I do need to go to your bills. I wish I could just sit and have coffee and visit. That would be a lot of fun. But my responsibilities call, and I will answer them. I do miss you, and I do understand